Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Nice.
Can you hear me? I guess you can.
Up here.
How are you?
Good to see you. It's been so long. Nice to see you.
I know. Yeah, you too. It's crazy. So, how's things?
Oh my God, it's so crazy. Like,
Yeah.
the last year, like so much shit has happened that I don't even know where to begin. But
Insanity.
right. I mean, right now, it's, the baby is amazing. He's definitely like this little, he's like my little Xanax.
Yeah, I was going to say congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. It's so funny. Like I had insomnia my whole life. And since he's been born, it's been cured. Which
Really?
is like, it's the craziest thing. Like I have, when I had my daughter, almost 11 years ago, it was so different. I was so freaked out and scared and I didn't know what I was doing. Like I thought I read all these books and was trying to go by books. And this time I'm just going by intuition. And like, whenever I hold him,
nice.
I start getting so sleepy and I'm like, oh my gosh, the oxytocin's working. So like I have been able to even though I have to wake up every 3 hours, I'm still I sleep those 3 hours. It's amazing. So
oh, that's so cool.
It's so
that puts
crazy.
a lot of fears to bed for me too.
Yeah, as long as you just don't read any books.
Yeah, that's kind of what I hear. I listened to another podcast with Pete Holmes, and he was talking about when they had their first child, or I guess their only child, and he was saying how it was just so, when he just quieted his mind and listened to his intuition, it just became so much easier.
So much easier.
That's so cool. So you have 2 kids now, right?
I have 3 now.
Oh, 3. Okay.
So officially last week, my guardianship with my niece went through.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So she's mine now fully.
Nice.
So I have, 2 big girls and 1 little boy.
Yeah. You've got a bonus child now.
Yeah. My bonus daughter. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Are you still in the same place? Are you still working at the same place, living in the same place?
Yeah, we're still in Pasadena. We're actually we're preparing to buy, we've been renting here. So
cool.
We're starting to, we want to buy by the beginning of summer, this, next 22.
Next year.
Yeah. So we're looking, we're looking Lake Arrowhead even.
Oh, I love Lake Arrowhead. Yeah.
Yeah. All the way to also staying here, but prices are,
nuts.
What we can get in the mountains is not even comparable to what we can get here. So
yeah, but also you're in the mountains. I mean, it's beautiful over there.
Yeah. Both my partner and I work at home. So it's not like, we have to go anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe by that time, the housing prices will calm down a little bit. It's just insanity right now.
Yeah, I think they will, because I think they'll realize that people still can't afford to buy those houses. So
right. No, the people who are buying them now can't afford to buy them now. And if they keep going up, if I saw something, because I'm subscribed to Redfin, and I saw this thing that said in our area, the housing market is supposed to go up 14.5% in the next year, which is okay, so people already can't afford, and how's that going to help out?
No. And they're not going to work. So
were you thinking, you were starting to say that maybe you were going to go even further? Are you thinking about the desert too?
Desert was actually the first thought. I've always loved Joshua Tree and just that place, but it is so hot in the summer.
It's crazy.
I don't think I'd be able to handle that. It would be a really great second location, a second place to have. But I think living there full time, I don't think I would be okay in that heat.
Like a winter home. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, even just going up there in the summer for a couple of days would be fine, but just full time, I don't think I would be okay. So that's why we're like Lake Arrowhead. So
yeah, that's closer and it's a lot cooler.
Yeah, absolutely.
The desert's cool. I mean, that's what we did the first time we did it because we couldn't afford anything either. We bought something in the desert. It was really cheap and we just rented it out for a while and it was great. But yeah, going over there in the summertime, sometimes it'd be like 119, 120 degrees.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
The houses there, everyone from Hollywood is going into the desert now.
Yeah.
And we were houses and they're up to $1 million now.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
I think Betsy Etzenberger just moved over there.
Oh yeah. Oh really?
Yeah. Do you know Betsy?
Yeah.
I think she's over there now.
Yeah. Houses are just as expensive now as LA. I'm like, what is happening? They're supposed to be like for $100,000, you're supposed to get like a giant house. And now it's like 800,000.
Oh my God. That's insane. I think maybe in the desert, it will probably go down a little bit more than in LA. I would assume.
It's insane. There's like plenty of, the only reason it's so expensive in LA is because there's no room, but in the desert, there's plenty of room. So
yeah,
whatever. But I'm just excited to own a home finally.
Oh my God. Yeah. You're going to love it. And I'm assuming you're going to have like a separate studio space, like a garage or something ADU.
Yeah. And that way we can like build something if I need to. Cause right now I'm like in my garage, I'm in a separate, like unattached garage in the back, but it's for renting. I can't really like build it out as much as I wanted to, I missed my way.
Trash it too much. Although I just saw a post that you did on Instagram. You said, I'm not getting my deposit back.
No, I'm not getting my deposit back. It's just, it's not good, but we'll see when I move, but
yeah, it's funny. We're going to have a little sub podcast about the real estate market in Los Angeles. So I saw that you were taking a bit of a break. Why don't you walk us through that a little bit? Cause I know when you were pregnant, I saw some posts. I was trying to follow you a bit too. And you were saying how you were kind of taking the time to let yourself feel all your feelings. And so you want to walk us through that? And how much did you paint while you were pregnant?
Very little. I could have taken it one way where I was like, I'm never going to paint again. I'm failing. Mm-hmm. But I decided to look at it as almost like the research stage of my career, of my art. And this is the time where I'm collecting all my feelings and feeling all my feelings and working through my healing process. And I knew like in the back of my head that eventually this is going to work out where I'm going to start painting even, better and more. And it happened. Like even like the first week I gave birth, like I was already out there.
Yeah. And I saw that.
Yeah.
Open the floodgates.
Yeah, it did. And I just feel, it feels like it did like when I first started painting, where it's like, I just want to paint all the time. And it's actually fun now. And it's not this big pressured thing where it was like this, like, when you first start painting, you kind of like, you have no concept of like what people like, you're just doing it for yourself. And then all of a sudden, like you have pressures from from galleries or from just other people. And you're like trying to paint for them. And then you realize
yourself even.
Yeah. And you're like, what am I doing? I don't know what I want to do. Because you want to keep, for me, I want to always evolve and, be better than the last time. But like when I was pregnant, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
I went through, I had, there women go through postpartum depression after pregnancy. I had it during pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was really hard. It just like everything that I've been avoiding feeling for the last, decade, all during my pregnancy. It wasn't the lovey-dovey, pregnancy. Like you always, see women on like Instagram or whatever, and they're having the most glorious pregnancy and they're so connected to their baby. And that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And it made me feel really guilty for a lot of the times because I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be happy being pregnant? But I was completely miserable.
Oh my God.
Horrible. And it made me afraid that I was going to have the postpartum depression afterwards, but it actually completely lifted and I've been happier than I've ever been my whole life now.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's also something I think that isn't talked about that much too. I mean, I think, in Hollywood, they portray it a certain way. And even on like social media, like you said, which is like the highlight reel of everything, including pregnancy. I'm sure a lot of these women who might even seem happy on Instagram are going through similar things, right?
I don't think my first one, I wasn't like that. Because I was, again, really young and dumb. I had this like blissful ignorance and I was just really happy being pregnant. And
yeah,
but time it was physically difficult because, I'm 36 and according to the doctors, I was a geriatric pregnancy.
I hate that term.
So stupid, but but I felt it. I felt it a lot more physically. And like I said, mentally, like my depression, I stayed on my medication throughout this pregnancy. It was a matter of like, life or death kind of thing where I outweighed the risks in the for it. And I decided to stay on it for the well-being of myself and my baby.
Yeah.
So, but even
if you're stressed out and you're upset, the baby's going to feel that too.
Exactly. So even with my medication, I was still depressed. So I can't even imagine without it where I would be. So yeah, so it was, this last year has been so crazy where my niece joined our family and then
How old is your niece, by the way?
She's 14.
Okay.
So I have a 14-year-old and my daughter is going to be 11 in January. And then, and Nash is almost 2 months old.
Oh, so,
yeah. So
pretty soon you're going to have 2 teenagers in the house.
She's already, she's like, 10 going on to 45. She's
yeah. 11 is the new 16.
Yeah, exactly. She's one of those really like mature like kids. Like she's always been adult like, so it's funny to watch her like, actually grow up. It's really cool. That's cool. Yeah, this last year, it was all great. I was so happy to have all these changes, but it was a lot for me. I'm such an autonomous person where I like to be alone. And I was single. I had my daughter and I share, to this day, her biological father and I share 50-50 custody.
Yeah.
And so half the time I was alone and I was able to be, and that really helped. And all of a sudden it went from that to being a mom full time when Tori, my niece, came to live with us. Yes. So that's a huge change. And I no longer had that me time. And I didn't realize how much that was going to affect me and everybody. It was it was an adjustment for everybody. Like, my daughter and I it went from her and I to her and I and my partner. And then also her and I, and she's, as an older sister. And then also I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, it was almost like, it was like a punch in the gut to her. Like I did this on purpose to her. And she's like, how could, now loves the baby. But at first she's like, I'm not talking to the baby when he comes. Wow. Okay. And it was like, it was hard for a while for everybody to adjust.
Yeah.
But I think me taking the lead in healing kind of healed the whole family.
Definitely.
Because if I'm not okay, I notice my kids aren't okay. Like even if I try to hide it and I'm going about they still feel that energy.
You feel it.
Yeah. So I think me taking control over, like very consciously saying I'm going to heal whatever, like all my, and it's not a linear thing. Healing is never linear, but it was very conscious. Like I need to feel better. I need to, or I'm not going to survive kind of thing.
It's funny because I think some people might go, oh, it's a selfish thing, but it's a selfless act actually to do that, to heal, because you're healing for your kids too. Right. Because I know for me growing up, I felt everything, and I absorbed it all. And I constructed a lot of defense mechanisms over that, being funny, being a people pleaser, doing all these types of things. And so you're basically you're creating another problem if you're not allowing yourself to heal. So
yeah. And when you heal, you're breaking those generational like bond, curses basically.
Yes.
So
somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it. And I didn't want it to be my kids. I wanted it to be me. So they didn't have to go through that.
That's great. I love that. That's so cool. Well, so I got a question. I know this is cool because we're kind of just doing this. Sometimes I have questions, but this was going to be something we're just doing impromptu and just having a conversation, which I love. So how are you balancing out time now to paint? Like you said, you didn't have a lot of time for yourself. Are you finding that your mindset has shifted now? Do you feel like you have more time, or are you just finding ways to kind of paint?
Both. Yes. Yeah. So I can find time, like throughout the day, I can go out there for like a couple minutes. I can like prep some things, not so much like, get it in the zone completely, but once everyone goes to bed, I'm still a night owl. So, so it still works out for me. And because I'm up with the baby at night, I have like a couple hours in between feedings. I'll go out to my studio and I'll paint for a couple hours and everyone's asleep. and I can, and now he's going through a little longer stretches, like 4 hours in between waking up, 4 or 5 hours. So I'll have like a couple hours to completely, submerge myself into like a zone and not be bothered. And, it's so funny being like, it's like almost like my insomnia, my night owlness has prepped me to be totally okay waking up with a baby at night and not having a hard time.
Right.
So so it's so like during the day I'll go out there, I'll be like, I'm gonna go paint really quick, I'll like go do a line of something, like I'll just do a little circle or something, or like spray paint something, or even just put underpainting on the new canvases, and then it'll be ready for me in the evening time. Like, so usually after dinner, Joseph, my partner, he's done with work at that point, and he was like, I'm going out there even when they're still awake. I'll just go out there after dinner, and I'm able to paint, and it's become that's become my schedule now.
That's cool. And it also allows you to maybe think about it and absorb what you're going to paint. You know what I mean? Like starting something and then being excited about it. It's just a different way of thinking about the process, I guess.
Absolutely.
And it kind of reminds me of, I don't know anything about Ayurvedic, but like I've heard a little bit about that, about the kind of the seasons that it has. It reminded me of that when you were talking about your pregnancy and also your new painting process, because there's like these seasons of like accumulation and then, getting rid of, like, that's what it seems like to me. I like that you allowed yourself to kind of feel and to accumulate a lot of ideas. And I know you talked about how you were just ready to go. And I think that's really healthy to do that. And I'm sure I'm sure you've got like inspiration for years now.
Absolutely. I did. It's so funny when I first got pregnant, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be so inspired. I'm going to be painting all the time. And then it just didn't pan out that way. Yeah. And if I was in a different place in my life, a couple of years ago, I would have taken that and internalized as me just failing. And I paint again, my career is over. Like before it even really took off, like, this is it. I'm never, it's just, that's it. I'm a failure. Yeah. But because I had a different mindset, it was really like, you know what, even if I don't want to paint and I hate painting right now, and I don't want to even look at my paintbrushes right now, that's part of the process. Yeah. And it's just really taught me to be a part. It's like, it's part of the process of painting. Even if it takes months before I even pick up a paintbrush, I was still painting, in my, like, I was still part of the, end result. Yeah.
It's part of the business of being an artist.
Absolutely. And I think and I think if people like perceived it that way and kind of changed the perception towards that, it would give a lot of other people confidence, and just knowing that it's going to come back. You're still going to paint again. But you have to like, be easy on yourself and give yourself a lot of grace and kind to yourself. And I think that's the main thing I've learned, is to be really kind to yourself, because you can really beat yourself up. You're your own worst enemy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I want to get into being kind to yourself a little bit more in a minute, because I think that's the root of every type of growth, is first learning how to have compassion for yourself. Right.
Absolutely.
But are you going to Jack George's show?
I would like to.
Yeah.
Right now it's a little crazy just because I'm, with the babe like most of my life right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, during the day, it's really important for Joseph to be working, because he's like actually on like, other people are on actual daytime schedules. So I'm allowed to work a lot. And then, so I'm with him like 22 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, moms that holds him the whole time. I'm hearing him all the time, and he's sleeping on me all the time. So like, we're attached 22 hours a day.
I was kind of envisioning you with the baby here and then like painting here, Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Well, I was going to ask about your insomnia, because you said you had insomnia in the past, and I know that can be really difficult for the creative process too. Do you think, like, I'm assuming you're sleeping less based on what you're talking about your schedule, but maybe because you're actually sleeping better when you're sleeping, are you getting enough sleep?
Probably not. I'm a little sleep deprived, but I'm a lot happier.
Oh, okay, good.
Like the sleep I am getting is quality.
Yes.
Or like I would not sleep all night and then fall asleep around like 11 a.m. and then sleep until like 3 and then feel like shit because I wasted my whole day.
Oh my God.
And I'd wake up with intense anxiety and I hated it. Whereas now it's like, I don't, it's like, I'm actually like just happy and I'm okay with not sleep. Like I'll know eventually he'll sleep in the night and I'll get my 8 hours one day. But right now I haven't had a full, it's been like 2-3 hour chunks where I'm sleeping at a time. But I'll fall asleep quickly. So, but yeah,
that's good.
definitely affects your mental state completely. I know it made my depression worse. During my pregnancy, my insomnia was horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and not in any kind of pleasant way. Like I was very uncomfortable, plus just the depression. It really affects you. It makes everything 1,000 times worse, where, like you don't even know what's happening. You're kind of like living in this kind of zombie state. And
Yeah.
I was suffering it for so long that I didn't think, like, my mom had terrible insomnia, and she ended up, just getting on sleeping pills.
Mm-hmm.
Prescribe you Ambien, for example, and you're supposed to stay on it for like just 2 weeks. She was on it for years.
Oh my
And
God.
the Ambien stopped working and she stopped sleeping. And then she got, she ended up getting cancer. And I think that all those things were like correlated, everything was connected. And I was
Yeah.
just like envisioning, like, this is gonna be my life. I'm like, I'm going to end up just dying because I'm not sleeping.
Right.
And there was to do to like help it.
It reminds me of Fight Club. Can you die from insomnia? No, you can't die from insomnia, but you can die from the effects of insomnia and the things that you're trying to, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how bad Ambien was
No,
for
it's terrible.
for the liver and for the body.
Oh, just for your brain is terrible. Like you
Yeah,
just
for the brain too.
don't even remember things that you like if you stay on it. Like I remember when I was like 18, 19, I would steal my mom's pills all the time. What
Like you do.
like you do. It's a full pharmacy in there. And I would take the Ambien and fight the sleep
Mm-hmm.
to like, and I would do the craziest shit. Like I remember I drove
Yeah,
to,
that's what I've heard.
picked up my friend, brought him back to my house, hung out, drove him back. I called my friends in like different states, crying about things, telling them all my deepest, darkest secrets, not remembering any
Oh
of it.
my God. It's like
So
blacking out. Yeah.
completely like it like total like amnesia too. So they're so dangerous. It's
That's
so
really scary.
yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that from different substances,
Right.
but
I mean, no, like any drug for me, or anything I've ever done kind of causes the amnesia for me. I kind of just dissociate completely and I don't remember the things I did.
yeah.
You think you're remembering at the time, but then like someone brings it up to you and you're like, I don't remember doing that. And that's really scary.
Yeah. Well, and I
Yeah.
also want to talk about the kindness and compassion, but the repression and using certain things to repress,
Yeah.
bad thoughts or memories or trauma or whatever. But it
Absolutely.
reminded me of when I used to work and wait tables and then come home and drink every night. Sometimes I would drink till 4 or 5, 6 a.m., and then sometimes I would actually get 7 hours of sleep, but it was
Right.
just
Not
horrible
qual-
sleep. It was not
yeah.
quality sleep. And then I would if you're getting up at noon, your day's gone. You're not getting that light. It throws off your rhythm. It threw me off big time. It contributed to my anxiety. I know it contributed to a bunch of
Chemicals
problems.
involved with alcohol.
Yeah.
For me, like I never liked to drink. It was never my thing. So I
Okay.
thought I was like, cool. But my was I really love opiates.
Oh yeah.
I love painkillers. Like
Yeah.
they're my jam. And when the pandemic started, I kind of like I was always a very recreational user. I was able to take something to feel better, like for like one time, and then not take anything for a while.
Yeah.
But kind of leading into this, I kind of spiraled when the pandemic started, and it was
Mhm.
at the same time where my niece came, and she came because of this horrible tragedy in my family. My cousin was killed by her husband, her parents,
Horrible.
and so then all of a sudden I had another kid, and I was
Was that
spiraling.
during the pandemic that
Yeah,
happened?
yeah.
Do you
It
think
was
that contributed to the kind of episode or whatever that happened?
I think there's a lot of people that can say that, like, just
Yeah.
domestic abuse in general. When
Yeah, it rose. Yep.
yeah, I think it's just like this pandemic forced everyone to face their deepest, darkest fears, and some people have made it out alive, and some people didn't.
People didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was very close of not making it alive, making it out alive. I started, using a lot more, and I was
Mhm.
really good at hiding it and
Mhm.
being because I never would take enough to be, I would still be able to function. I no one
Yeah.
would know except me, and until I wasn't, and all of a
Right.
sudden I realized I was just slowly killing myself,
Yes.
and I kept it a deep dark secret, didn't tell anybody.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and it was
I think I
it,
remember you being in one of the shows you came to. I can't remember which show it was that we did online, the opening.
yeah,
Or maybe it was Amy's show, Hot Damn.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah. Was this kind of during this period?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost a year ago, like to the day,
Yeah.
where I started realizing that I needed help while getting off of it, because I tried getting off of it in the past. When I would use, I never became physically addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to kind of randomly do some stuff here and there, but this time it was a whole different case. And I was really ashamed, and I was, a mother and a basically a wife, and I had this, like, I'm like this in my head. I'm like, I'm not a junkie. I'm not like,
Right. Of course.
no one would ever say that. But so it was really hard. I tried getting off of myself, and the withdrawals were, I couldn't do it. Worst pain I ever felt in my life.
Oh my
And
God.
so eventually I was confronted. Joseph confronted me,
Mm-hmm.
and happening. He thought like just my person, because he didn't know I was on anything. He just thought I was just becoming a whole different person, this just fucking bitch,
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah.
not participating in life at all. I would just be in my studio, kind of I have this recliner in there, and I'd just be in there smoking a pack of cigarettes,
Mm-hmm.
nodding off. And it was really scary for them to watch me that way. And eventually, like, I came clean. I was like, this is what's been happening for this last, like, basically 6 months.
Yeah.
I can't get off of it by myself. So he helped me get off of it. I weaned myself down. And
That's good.
yeah, so
It's
that
nice to
happened.
have support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he could have completely left. I deserved it. I was lying. I was doing a lot of horrible things, but I knew I didn't want that anymore. And the moment I became clean, I saw my kids and I didn't even recognize them. I was like, oh my God, you've grown so much these last, like, couple months. And I just felt horrible.
And there's the shame.
So much shame. And I didn't, they don't know to the fullest extent. They just knew that I was on some kind of medication that made me feel bad,
Right.
but they looked so different. They grew, and I missed all of that,
Oh man.
and it was just felt so guilty and horrible. And the moment I became clean, I got pregnant.
Oh
So,
wow.
so it was like, great, I'm clean right now, but I haven't had a chance to really be clean for a long time.
Yeah. And
So
process everything.
yeah, it wasn't enough time. Like, they tell you when you first become, like, sober, don't date anybody for a year,
Yeah.
don't get into years, like any of that. But I got pregnant, and
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden, like, I still had terrible cravings, and I
Mm-hmm.
still, and like I said, I had really bad depression during this time, and mixed with the pregnancy hormones, and I struggled a lot. But I knew I couldn't use because I was pregnant, so it was almost like this, like, safety net. But at the same time, like, I was close a lot of times to wanting to use, and
Yeah.
to, but I got a lot of support. I don't do the AA thing, but I do like,
Yeah. That wasn't for me either.
yeah, it wasn't for me. But I have a good support system. I found some, sober women, sober mothers
Oh,
that,
good.
yeah. So I was able to, like, gather that in a therapist, and a trauma therapist specifically.
Yes. That
That
was my
was,
next question.
yeah. And that's when, beginning of my pregnancy, and my beginning of my sobriety, that's when I was like, okay, time to really dive deep and figure out why start. I mean, like, I knew, but, like, at the same time, like, I need to heal it. I
Yeah.
can't continue to, like, like, yeah, well, I've had this trauma, and that's why I'm doing it. It's like, okay, well, now what? Like, do you want to be happy? And I had to do it. I had to start really digging deep and looking like, inside, and figuring out, like, what it is that I needed to heal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it can keep coming back.
Oh, it would,
Yeah.
100%. Because,
And
like,
I would have been afraid because, like, being pregnant, I'm obviously not a woman for anybody listening, but if I had become pregnant and I had been given kind of that extra motivation to stay clean or sober or whatever, and then I would have been afraid that the moment I gave birth,
it would go right back to
I would go right back to it.
And that was actually, I've thought about that 1,000 times. I was like, oh, well, once I'm not pregnant, I'm going to be able to, like, at least take a pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
That scared me a lot. So
It's crazy how, like, insidious this stuff is, these thoughts and these patterns. It's like, I also didn't do AA. I didn't really like it. I didn't like the idea of saying I can't do something. I just can't. I preferred to look at it as a choice. Like, I choose not to. But there's always these thoughts that come back that are like, well, down the road, I could maybe dip back into this. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
like,
that's how it creeps
now,
back in.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
absolutely. like you say to yourself, like, oh, I can handle it now. Like I just have like one drink or one pill or whatever it is.
Sure.
I was, I've been using stuff, either recreationally or consistently since I was like 14.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't like, there wasn't even a time in my life that I remember that I wasn't like, I didn't have something to fall back on if I felt really bad. And this time I didn't have anything. And, it was the dumbest thing to be pregnant at the time, but also this is what saved my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it was the hardest 9 months. Actually didn't make it to 9 months. I gave birth 5 weeks early, but it was the hardest 8 months of my life. Just
I'm sure.
being away. And I felt very isolated and alone because, you're in your own head, but there was just so many, like I had so much to lose this time.
Yeah.
You're younger, you have a lot less to lose. And as you get older, that window becomes smaller and smaller where it's like, you fuck up a little bit when you're younger, less consequences. And then now it's like a little major consequences.
Major.
And now, and I was on the verge of I could lose my whole family. I could, it could completely be, I saw it. I saw like, I envisioned it, like what it could have been.
Yeah.
But I made a very conscious decision that it wasn't going to be like that.
Well, it's weird too, because I used to tell Mags this all the time. It's just not cute anymore. It's not cute anymore being wasted and having these problems where like, oh, if you're in your teens, your 20s, you got a little loaded one night or whatever, but having that happen over and over again and not remembering things and having these ripple effects that affect your family and your friends and stuff like that. It's not cute anymore. It's a problem. And and it's a very slippery slope to that just becoming your life. And also I think when you get in your 30s, you also can't process it as well anymore. The body stops being able to process it.
I looked like I have a picture of my 35th birthday, and I was kind of in the depths of it. This was now, but on my 35th birthday, I'm looking back and my face is just swollen. Like I only have one kidney to begin with. Like I
didn't know that.
I had surgery when I was younger. It was a genetic thing, and I ended up losing basically full function of my right kidney. So my ankles, I remember like last August, my ankles were so swelled up. They're so swollen. And I mean, like my body was basically shutting down.
Yeah. And you've got one kidney to process all that.
Right. And I wasn't like, at the time, like I wasn't getting a prescription clean opiates. God knows what was in it. It was probably fentanyl.
Right.
So just dirty, achy things. And I couldn't tell anybody. And because of that, it was also that pressure alone, just like I'm dealing with this by myself, because like, if I tell somebody, I'm going to lose everything.
Yep.
It had to be a big secret. And then once it finally got off my chest, like it was such a relief. But just looking like, your body just takes a toll. Like I look horrible. I look younger at 36 than I did at 35 because it's out of my system,
Yeah. You look great. That's how I felt when I finally, because I was kind of trending that way aside from my drinking and other bad habits. And I just started I was in my 20s. I looked horrible. And now I feel like I look better than I did in my 20s, just because just clearer, more vibrant and alive. And I'm just like, I just don't want to go back to that anymore, No. Well, it's weird. It's almost like you being pregnant, going through this at the same time. It's yes, the baby almost kind of saved your life, but also it's like you were in a cocoon at the time too. It was like you were processing all this. You kind of came out the other side new as well.
Yeah, it was giving birth to myself.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to sound like, I didn't want you to go,
Yeah, but it's true. Like it was like the best kind of metaphor, but in reality, like it was really like I was growing this baby and I was, like I said, I didn't have this like super deep connection at the time because I felt I was still in like this horrible fog of just what am I doing? What's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, like we talked about getting pregnant. We're like, yeah, let's, we can, start trying. And then like literally 2 weeks later, I was pregnant. I was like, oh, okay. Like, okay, I guess I really need this baby, like this is happening.
Right.
That I thought we took a pregnancy test a little too early and it came out negative. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of almost relieved. And I was like, all right, thankfully I'm not pregnant. I just got sober last month. Like God, that would be so too much. And then like a week later, I started getting nauseous and I took a test. And I was like, and it was positive. I was like, wow, like, that happened really quickly, like without even really thinking it through. But
some force knew what you needed.
It was definitely, it was definitely I believe in that 100%. Like
Yeah,
the
I do
universe
too.
you what you need to heal or to face your demons.
Yeah.
And I remember like I would be taking baths and I would be talking to the baby while he was still inside of me. And I'm like, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna make sure that like we're gonna get through this together because he was a part of it. Like
Yeah.
it was our lives were at stake at that time.
It's almost like the baby's a touchstone for
Yeah.
you too now. Yeah.
He's the first boy. I thought for sure I was gonna have another girl because that's what
Yeah.
I have is 1,000 girls. And so when they told me it was a boy, I was like, oh my God, like it's just so it's like all these different like things, like it's really interesting. And it's just seeing that it's like it's definitely meant to be and meant to happen that way.
Yeah. I think that's so cool. Do you mind if I want to save this, make sure we have it because I don't want to lose all the good stuff you've shared.
I'm gonna go grab my charger while you're doing that.
Perfect. And then I'll send you another link.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. We are back. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for doing that. We had some weird electrical problems today. My computer completely shut off and fried my surge protector. And I was like, I don't want to lose what we've been talking about. So just totally safer. Fine. Yeah. It's weird. I was thinking about it the other day. I think you were like my 5th episode of the podcast, my second interview after Mike. And I think this is going to be number 98. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Coming full circle. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. But I wanted to thank you for sharing all this because I know it's gonna be helpful to a lot of people. I think a lot of artists have damage. I know I did. I know I still do.
I mean, that's kind of, it goes with the territory,
It does.
That's why we become artists I mean, most of us is to kind of process those feelings or to somehow get them out on canvas or on whatever your medium is.
Exercise them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I know that's going to help a lot of people. It's interesting. My wife and I, we were watching the other night, it's not a great documentary at all. It's kind of corny, but I think it was called like Emotion 2.0 or something. It was just on Amazon. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And it's all about it's repression, repressed memory, repressed trauma, all that stuff. But it's actually like, they talk about the science behind it, actually holding these things in your body. And I've always told Mags that I hold my pain in my body and I know exactly where it's held in my stomach and I can feel it. And I've always wanted to do some sort of like massage healing technique or something. Because I know there's emotional massage healing. I don't know what you call them, masseuses out there, technicians. And
I mean, there's Reiki.
Right. There's Reiki.
There's also
the one where they actually put their hands on you and
like lymphatic massages.
Yes.
There's that. It's so funny that you say that because that's literally like what I have. That's how I healed. That's how I kind of processed everything is realizing that it's, your body remembers everything.
It does.
And it's completely like your nervous system is shot. That's what happens when you're constant anxiety and you're constant in flight or fight mode. And there's no actual danger around you. It's because your body is just remembering these things.
Yeah.
And to kind of heal that, you have to heal your body.
You do.
And I kind of realized it was through motion, through moving my body.
In what sense? Like exercise or just like some other type of movement?
I would do like, I would start doing kind of crazy dancing. I would put on my headphones. I have like, my big headphones like yours right now, but they're like wireless. Yeah. And I would just be in my studio alone and I would just start like, kind of like, I didn't care what it looked like. It was just getting it out.
Yes.
And there was actually a period where I realized this was happening was when I was in the midst of detox. I was in the car with Joseph and it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like I was about to I wanted to kick the windshield out.
Oh, wow.
Like I just my body was not able, I couldn't, if you let me out of just open the door and fallen out onto the 134, like it was that bad. And all of a sudden out of somewhere in the depths of my gut, I started screaming like this, horrible, just long, this animalistic scream for so long. And I don't know how he was just completely calm during this, but I'm sure he was freaking out inside. But it was so high pitched and so long. And all of a sudden it started going down. And as I was getting out of my body and it felt like there was a demon coming out of me.
Yeah.
Like, and I think like, that's what, like, when people are talking about exorcisms, like that's how it felt. Like
For
there was
sure.
something like coming out of me, and I realized how much my body was holding in. I felt like I wasn't able to scream and get that out for my whole life.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and I'm generally like I don't even talk to myself. I can, like, if I'm alone, I will not use my voice for days. And I'm not a singer, so I don't have that like outlet. So I realized like how much I've been holding inside of me. And once that, I was like, by the time we got home, it was like a 20-minute car ride. By the time I got home, I was still like yelling, but it was kind of like I was like letting it come out. And that's when I realized like how much my body was just like remembering. And I like you, like your stomach, my stomach too. I am very, my emotions are tied to my stomach.
Yes.
When my mom was sick, I was throwing up every single day, like 3 times a day, couldn't hold anything down. I got so skinny, and not in a great way at all.
Right.
Even like through this pregnancy, I had morning sickness all through the pregnancy, but I knew it really wasn't the pregnancy. It was my brain. It was my healing, just like getting it out. But at the same time, like I'm so like, when I get anxious, I get nauseous, and then I can't eat. And then, it's just this, it was horrible.
As a snowball effect.
Yeah. And I realized I had to heal my nervous system. And
that's not easy.
No. And I'm still in the process. It's not like I'm like all done, I'm good, and never again I'm very feel anxiety. But it's I have never felt this way in my life. So I know that I did something.
Yeah, you're doing something right, for sure.
Right. And it's a lot of what it's called a shadow work, and kind of it's taking, and it's parts work, where I'm taking a part of me, whatever this specific one trauma, where there's like 1,000 different traumas, but this one specific trauma, I kind of look back in it, and I kind of take myself, it's almost like I look at myself in that time and then me now, and kind of for me, shadow work is healing your inner child.
Definitely.
That's like kind of like the basic, like the bottom line of that is it's your inner child. And it's kind of looking at that little person and talking to me, talking to her, and healing that part, and being
having
like, it's
compassion
okay.
for
Having compassion, and not and like all those things, those dark, deep secrets, or the things that you're so shameful about, kind of realizing that you don't have to be ashamed about those. And to it's like internally I envision myself hugging this little girl so many times throughout this process. And
I'm smiling and nodding because I went through a similar thing. It's very powerful. Yeah.
It is super powerful. And like, I wanted to get here for so many years, but I wasn't ready at that time, because it's not fun. It's not like when you start when you start becoming spiritual in any kind of way, everyone wants to just be this positive spirituality, where that's not how it works. Like, it's really painful, and you have to like go through a lot to even get to a place where you actually understand who you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry to pause you, because it all makes sense, because we have these things we repress, we don't know how to process, and then we end up typically self-medicating, right? Which sounds like what you were doing, which is what I was doing, which allows you to not feel these things temporarily. Of course, you're doing damage to your body, further damage to your body doing that. But once you kind of just give up the self-medication, and then start to become spiritual and make peace with yourself, your inner child, even have compassion, then all of these feelings just pour out of you. And it's painful.
Yeah. And when you're in it, you don't know if you're ever going to get out of it. My fear was always like opening the floodgates. And if I open these floodgates, what if I'm never able to close them again? And I'm just going to become insane.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, walking down the street, babbling to myself for the rest of my life. And that's it was a genuine fear.
It could happen for some people. Yeah, they don't have the right tools.
Absolutely. It could. And I mean, I've seen it happen. Like, I've seen my certain friends, and, like, where they just they didn't want to deal with it. They couldn't deal with it. They just either ended up dying of a drug overdose, or just still self-destructing to this day.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of that, and it was really painful. And like, that's why I was kind of like, excuse me, at the same time where I wasn't painting at all. So I had no outlet whatsoever.
Yes. Right.
So I had no outlet. I wasn't painting. I didn't feel like painting. I didn't know what I wanted to paint. I would try, but I hated everything. And then at the same time, I'm dealing with all these inner child cope. Like I'm trying to like deal with that and so I had to find all these new tools to cope with that. And so it was really scary.
That's
but
scary.
It was,
yeah.
But at the same time, that's what I was like, this is a part of the process, and it's a part of the process. And I just kept telling myself that, and it made it a little bit easier. And everyone's like, Joseph would be like, you're going to paint again. Don't worry. I'm like, I know. Like there'd be times like totally clear. I'm like, I know I'm going to paint again. I'm going to be even better than I was before all this.
Yes.
And so that's what made me like get through all of it, is that I knew that eventually I was going to, and I started seeing this little light at the end of the tunnel. It was very small and very dim, but eventually the light got a little bit bigger and bigger. And it was right when my son was born. That's when I went into the hospital 5 weeks early because I had really high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not ready to come out. He was really pissed coming out. Like he was like, I'm not ready. And I was 5 weeks early is really early. So I was really scared. And I was in the hospital for a week by myself. I mean, not by myself, but before I gave birth. And they're like, you're going to be here until you give birth, basically. I was like, wow. Oh my God. So I could have been there for like a month. Yeah. And it was just like, but at the same time, it was kind of nice for the first couple of days, honestly, because they have really good room service at Huntington Hospital.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any, I was finally able to like just relax and take care of myself without feeling guilty. Cause like even during my pregnancy, I still had to take care of 2 other kids. And like, there was no time just to like be in bed. Yeah. And if I wasn't in bed, I felt guilty about it. So this time, like I was forced to relax.
Have some you time.
Exactly. So, it was actually like a really positive thing. And, thankfully my son came out really big for being really early. He was, we went home 2 days later. So it was, he didn't have to see the inside of a NICU at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like he came out 6 pounds, which is
wow.
Almost like full-term babies are that size, but
yeah.
And he was just like, he was breathing totally fine on his own. Nothing. He was just as if
he was just ready to come out.
I mean, he was mad when he came out. He was like screaming mad when he came out. Like it was really fun. But
you got an artist on your hands. Another one.
I know, he's so cute. But
so cute. I've seen the picture. He's so cute.
He really is. I'm so obsessed with him. Like it was so funny because this time is so different. Like with my daughter, like I was in such deep depression. You miss all of that. Like I missed the first year of her life completely.
Oh no.
And because I was so like, it was real. Like it was the depression where I didn't want anyone to touch her.
Mm-hmm.
I only wanted, like, if I ever wanted to hurt it was only to hurt myself, but I never hurt myself at the time, but I just didn't want, I thought I was the only person who could do anything. And so I was like, and I was breastfeeding at the time. And this time I decided beforehand, like I was not going to breastfeed because for me, it is a mental health thing. And it was the best decision I made for both of us. And there was so much pressure for that. But I had to like take, steps. Like I'm going to be on my medication this time. I'm not going to be breastfeeding. And because last time it took up all of my whole life, just trying to like do all it made my depression so much worse. So this time around, like, like I said in the beginning, it's totally different. Like trying to implement things from a mental health beforehand, before it like spirals.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So
I really dislike a lot of the stuff you hear about pregnancy from all sides. I mean, you're told this is normal. This is not normal. Everybody needs to do this. Everybody, I don't think there's a one size fits all for anybody. You have to make that decision for you, because you
100%.
could have been breastfeeding, and you could have been doing a lot of other negative things to your child emotionally at the same time. So who's to say that there's a one size fits all for every circumstance?
There isn't,
right?
And every baby's different,
right.
And
every
he's
body's
like,
different.
Exactly. And like, I went into this, like, I don't give a like, I'm so past that point of caring what other people think, that like, I was totally like, I didn't have any shame about it. Like, the lactation specialist came in, she's like, oh, you're not breastfeeding. I'm like, no. And she's like, why? I'm like, for my mental health, period. Like, because I'm going to be a lot better mother this way. Good.
Yes.
And it's, and for some women, it's the most amazing experience of their life. But for me, I hated it. It was painful. It took up 90% of my life. Like I never thought she was getting enough food. It was just horrible. I was pumping in between. Like, it was just like, it took up my entire time and my entire like brain, so this time, like I implemented these things beforehand. And I was supposed to actually get a C-section because my first birth was so traumatic, because my daughter, I make really big babies, and I pushed for 4 hours last time.
Oh, wow.
And when you're only supposed to push for like half hour to an hour, that's kind of like the general like average. So I was like, I want to have a C-section this time, but because he was so early, he was a little bit smaller, so I was able to do it without one. But I was like implementing all these things beforehand to make sure I was like, my mental health was going to be number one.
That's good.
And that's because I'm at this place in my life where I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't like, it's down to like my art. Like, you're doing it for yourself now.
Mm-hmm.
Like if people like it, they love it. Like great. If they don't, like, that's fine. Like my art is not for everybody.
It's not.
And so like, I'm not for everybody, and that's totally okay.
That's
totally
the perfect place to be in. That's like the place that we should all strive to be in. So maybe that's something good that's come out of this too. Right.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So by the time, like, I went to the hospital and I was, through my journey, by the time he was born, like I was ready. And I've been like, I remember telling everyone, like, I have never been this happy before. Like, this is such a weird feeling. Like I'm not on any drugs and I'm really happy. And I have a newborn where everyone's supposed to be freaking out right now. And like, I'm actually like really calm.
That's so
like,
cool.
It's so weird, like what's happening. But like, I knew it's not artificial. It wasn't like, it's not something that is only like, it's not like a manic episode I'm having or anything. It's an actual, it's because of all of the shit I went through these last like year and forcing myself to face all these icky things. And that was my reward. It's feeling good inside my own skin. And I didn't do that for a long time. I felt very uncomfortable in my own skin, and I feel like a lot of people do.
Yeah. And allowing yourself to feel that way, right? Not feeling like guilty for that or trying to overthink it, just allow it to be, Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I love that. And it's funny because we were talking about each person is different. I mean, it's the same thing with giving birth. I've had friends who just told me horror stories of their birth and almost dying on the birthing table. Yeah. And then I've had friends who are just like, no problem. It was like 10 minutes, Yeah.
So, and you can't plan for this. Like you have a whole birth plan. It goes out the window.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
my first pregnancy, I was like, I'm not going to have any medication. I'm going to do it all natural. And like, I lasted 12 hours like that. And I was like, after the 12th hour, I was like, give me the epidural. Like, I just like couldn't take. So this time I'm definitely getting epidural. Like, I'm not doing that. But it's at the same time, when you're in it, when you're still dealing with all the icky feelings, I'm looking at Instagram and it's really hard not to kind of start feeling like, oh, I'm not like these women, but I knew that's something I had to get past as well, because people do not talk about like the bad side of pregnancy, because it makes you kind of a bad mom if you're not emotionally connected to this baby yet, or if you're not like, walking on daisies the whole time. And it's like, I hated being pregnant. I hated it.
Yeah.
I love my son. I'm so happy he's here. But I'm because he came out healthy, I can say this, like, I'm so glad I didn't make it another 5 weeks, because like just the universe heard my pleas that like, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, oh my God, another 5 weeks left. And then, ended up in the hospital and all that. So it's like the universe is like, all right, you can have a little early.
Yeah. You've done your time.
I know, but it was just like, I hated it. And it's hard. For a lot of women, I know that would make you feel really guilty and like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with you. It's totally normal.
And the same with postpartum depression too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like that's talked about a little bit more, not enough, but
finally.
But I didn't know about the depression during pregnancy.
Right.
Like I didn't know how bad it could get and how dark it could get. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, I was like invaded. I felt like I just finally got my body back from being sober. And all of a sudden I don't have my body back again.
Yes.
So
that
it was like
complete sense.
Yeah. So it was not a fun time. Like I said, I love my son to like more than anything in this world. But like during that time, I hated it. I hated the whole, like, I just want to be me. I just want to like heal my body right now. But with him there, like it forced me to really, really heal, to really face my shit.
Yeah. It might've been not what you wanted, but is what you needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't always get what you want.
You can't. Somebody said that. I completely agree. And I've heard a lot of people who said, well, not a lot, but I've heard some stories. I feel like people are starting to be a little more honest about pregnancy. And I've heard some stories recently of women who are not happy also during their pregnancy,
Yeah.
but then they get done and they're like, okay, this was great. This was the best thing. And even wanted to have another child, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. No, I completely
That'd be
understand.
crazy.
You've got 2 plus a bonus now. So you're
Right.
good.
No, but like even that, like, I mean, I waited like a decade in between my last one and now. So that was, because I was so traumatized by the delivery last time and through like her first year. I was so traumatized by that. Like I thought I was done completely.
Sure.
But like, I somehow, ended up deciding that it was okay to have another one. I was like in a state. I was like, I'm all sober and happy right now. Like when those first couple weeks when you're sober, you're like in this pink cloud.
Yeah.
And that's when my decision making was like, like, but then I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy. But it forced me to really figure out what I needed. And it gave me what I needed. And now like I feel so much better. And it's just so funny. Like it's like everything started like, when you're in that state. I wasn't painting because I wasn't painting, I wasn't selling anything. Because I wasn't selling anything, I'm like, broke constantly. I have to rely on my partner to be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like the first week of, after delivery, I'm painting more, and I sold a bunch of older stuff from Art Space.
Yeah.
And then I had a commission, like a big giant commission come through. And like, it wasn't even like I wasn't even trying to do it. It's just because I was in a different like vibrational state. Like I was
completely,
like
100%.
Like, yeah, it was reflecting how I was feeling at that time. And now I'm like, just like it's pouring out of me. And all of a sudden, like all these new opportunities are coming about, and it's really cool. And it's like,
you're open to them now.
And it's not a coincidence. It's not based off luck. It's really just like where you are in your life.
I love to hear that. And I talk about it all the time on the podcast, and I don't care if people don't believe me or not, but I've had so many times where I've just been completely blocking myself. I'm doing all the work, 100%, all of it. Yeah. And maybe I'm even working harder than I ever have. If I just get to that place where it's like, there's a release or a surrender, I just become in a flow state. I just start selling. Things open up. It's like, I don't know if I'm just ready for it now, but it's happened so many times. I can't even count. So I don't really care if people believe me. Yeah. It's not a coincidence. No. So it's really cool to hear you say that, and congratulations on being able to paint again and selling and all that. It's great. Yeah. So I want to talk about what you're doing right now, but first of all, I think we should maybe talk about like if there's some people out there who are having similar problems, like you and I are talking about going through our own individual experiences, but I know for me at the time, I couldn't afford to go to a therapist. I had to kind of deal with a lot of stuff on my own. And it was really a rocky road. Like it took me a long time to figure it out. And then I had some support that kind of came along, like with Magdalena and some people, but it's not always like that for everybody. So what would you recommend to anybody going through this?
I mean, Jesus, like it really is. The only reason I was able to see a therapist this time is because I had insurance for my pregnancy.
Yeah.
Otherwise I didn't have insurance. So I couldn't go see like, just anybody, but there is help. There is, there's pay scales that therapists work on. I know there's a lot of them that will work with people who have low income, but like it's, there's AA, there are support groups for sure. Because of COVID, I realized that I discovered a lot of stuff online, like via Zoom, like group sessions and stuff. And there's a lot of people who are in like my position where they don't want to be outed and be like, I'm going through my sobriety, I'm a user, and that's totally acceptable. I think, coming terms with your own shame is one thing, but you're not obligated to tell everybody about it. Like if you don't want to. Like, I think everyone has the right to, like, there's certain things you don't have to tell the world about. And I think especially as you get older and you have more responsibilities, like you have a lot more to lose, and you don't want to tell everyone that you're going through this. So I think, finding at least one person in your life that you do trust and that will help you. And I got very lucky having my partner be that person. Yeah. He helped me through, like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have gotten sober. I had to wean off, and I couldn't do it by myself because I would just continue taking the same amount. Right. So I had somebody hold my stuff, hold my stash, and rehab was not a possibility for me either. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave my kids. I couldn't I couldn't do that, especially like I'm trying to get custody of a kid and also I'm in rehab. That's not going to look that great. And it was a lot of things. It was really scary. So I know that a lot of people are in the same position where they can't go to rehab. They don't have insurance. But I think once you truly, truly want to get sober, things there, people will like, it will, the doors will open for you. There will be somebody that you can talk to. There will be it will happen.
Yeah.
Because like, it just like the same way where you're open, all of a sudden you become open and you start selling paintings, the same way, like you truly want to change. You can't change somebody. You can pray all you want. You can talk to them all you want, but unless they like, it's do or die.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather be dead than feel like this anymore. Then things will start. You will find those people. You'll find a group. You'll find a person to help you through it.
So true.
Yeah, because there's all those rehab was not going to be a thing for me. It was not going to happen. I couldn't go detox at a detox place. Like I needed to be really private.
Like, for example, I had, when I was going through all this stuff, I had a wait tables job and I literally was living, people talk about living paycheck to paycheck. I was living shift to shift. If I missed one shift, I would maybe be out on my ass, you know? And I luckily had a person at my job who was just a very like conscious person who I connected with and started pointing me in the right direction. It was very empathetic. And then I had like I discovered Eckhart Tolle at the same time and a bunch of stuff that just kind of helped me kind of get on that path.
Absolutely.
But that's not right for everybody either. So
no, but like, if you just, I mean, like my biggest thing I could say is probably just find that one person just to tell it to, you know, you don't have to tell the world. You don't have to go on Facebook and be like, hey guys, I'm sober now, or trying to get sober. Just find that one person that you trust who isn't going to make you use and
exactly.
And tell them like, I need help. Because you can't really do it alone. You really can't. I mean, there's times, I guess some people have gotten completely clean, completely alone. I don't know those people.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, they might exist, but,
well, even me who didn't really go to a therapist, I didn't do it alone. Like I like to think of myself as, I mean, I did a lot of stuff. Like I pulled myself up on my bootstraps a bit, but I had a lot of help along the way. Yeah, that has to happen. It also sometimes can't be your partner. Like for you were lucky. I was lucky with Mags. And sometimes your partner is not the person that maybe you feel comfortable opening up to. So you got to find that person wherever they are. And if that's a therapist, that's a therapist.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, there's therapists out there that work on pay scale. Like they'll take like $10 a session, you know, or whatever. There's also, you know, there's free, like, you know, there's the free clinic, like not the free clinic, the hospitals that are like government based. They'll set you up with a therapist for sure. I know that's something that was offered to me as well. But I mean, the healthcare sucks here. So like, you really you really, really have to want it. You have to want it, because like there will be setbacks of trying to find somebody to speak to, or, you know, making appointments and having to wait like a month. And if you take those setbacks, you're like, oh, screw it. Then, so you really have to like be dedicated to wanting to change your life and to want to find that happiness. And it sucks. That work sucks and it's going to be painful, but it was that, or I was going to kill myself. It was that or that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I couldn't do that.
Yeah. And it's going to take time. It's going to take some steps. And I think with the kind of the forgiving process also, I realized looking back, because the shame comes from like, how could I do something like this? Like, but for me, why I talk about Eckhart Tolle so much was he made me realize that I was kind of, oh, you do too? Oh, great. Yeah. He's amazing. And he's one of those guys who just completely lives exactly what he talks about. But I realized that I was just kind of acting from a place of unconsciousness. Like I wasn't a conscious person at the time. Now I would never do that stuff, because now I realize what I'm doing and I'm conscious of what I'm doing. And it's just like, you're almost like a different person, you know? You are. Like you're under a spell.
And you're also, you know, where the forgiving yourself part is, it's like you're in survival mode. Yeah. You're in so much pain. You're in so much pain that you're willing to sacrifice everything just to like make that pain go away. Yeah. And that's where it's like, that's where the compassion for yourself has to come from. It's like you were doing everything just to survive. And now you don't have to do that anymore. And there's new tools, and you're older now, or, you know, you've gone through this, and there's different ways to survive now where you don't have to be in survival mode anymore. And so that's a lot of my forgiveness for myself came from, where it was like, I was doing the best I could at the time,
Definitely.
with the tools I had at the time.
Yes.
And now I have different tools, and I actually have tools.
Yeah.
I didn't have
right.
tools.
Right. And a lot of people kind of feel like you're doing this. How could you do this to your family or to your partner or to ex, whoever it is? But really, I think the thing that people need to understand is you're really doing it to yourself first and foremost. Like you're the one who's suffering the most. And so you need to have that compassion for yourself first. You need to do whatever you can to kind of focus in on yourself and make that change. Because if you're just going to do it for somebody else, that could be temporary, that
it's 100% going to be temporary.
Yeah. Right.
100%. Yeah.
It has to be for you first.
Yeah. You really can't change. Like there's been so many times where I've had friends who I just desperately want to help, and I can't, because, and they talk about like, oh, I want to be different. But like, I just love them for who they are and have compassion for them where they are in their life, because they're just not ready.
Exactly.
And
you can't make them be ready.
No, you can't. It's like asking someone to like, fly when they can only crawl. It's just not in their, it's not where they are right now.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So,
well, I'm so glad to hear that you're doing well. Like you look great. I'm seeing your art. Your art looks great. And I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously you can tell me anything else you want to talk about, but I do want to find out some of the stuff you're doing. I think you had some shows coming up or some stuff that you're involved in.
Yeah, I'm actually, there is a gallery in Australia right now called As Above. And it's a really cool, it's usually they do residencies there where somebody comes, but because it is lockdown, I can't go there. So there for the first, so starting December, I'm going to be working on a solo show, but being in LA. So,
cool.
It's going to be all documented. It's not just going to be my paintings. It's going to be, I used to do a lot of self-portraits. So that's going to be my way of documenting my process. And it's just really cool that I'm going to have this opportunity right now, because it's like, I'm ready for it. And it's like all the stuff that's happened. It's like, I'm in such a good place where the colors I'm using right now are all super like, I love it. I want to eat my paintings. So like, there's like, it's all just, I'm going in with, like, I love doing series where I'm able to work on like a bunch of like similar stuff in one thing and then move on to another thing. So this particular series of this show is going to be really about like rebirth and, cool. Kind of, everything that I've gone through and where I am right now. And it's really cool that it literally happened, right? Like I wanted to do it. And then the opportunity just came about. And like, it was really cool. Like, so I'm going to be, so I'm going to be starting that in December. We don't have I'll know more details in the upcoming months, but so I'm doing that. There's also a few other galleries in LA that I've been speaking to, and there's a gallery in Larchmont. So there's a few other galleries. It's really, it's just like everything I kind of like put out into the universe is kind of like whatever I kind of want is kind of manifesting.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I'm still working with Art Space.
They're
still like, I'm down to the last couple little pieces there. So I'm going to re-up and drop off a bunch of stuff there.
Do they kind of do that, or do they like to have a certain amount of stuff on file?
They usually do, depending on the person. I finally I'm in there, like, I was like, a newbie, and I'm, when I first started with them, I would literally just started painting like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So it was like a fluke that I even like accidentally applied there, and it was just weird. And
listen to the first interview with Sarah. She talks about that. I remember you talking about bringing a painting in and then asking you, how you wired it or having to restretch it or something.
I had to rewire. They called me back. This was like not even that long ago. It was like a year ago. Yeah. They're like, I dropped off like 2 giant pieces, and I got a call, and they're like, you stretched it. I stretched it backwards. Like I stretched it on the wrong side of the bars.
Oh, right.
Like, oh my God. This
so
is
the
so
little lip wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah. It was on the other side.
Yeah. Nice.
And so I was like, I'm so professional. So eventually I finally by the time now they're like, they just have me go to their framer, and they stretch my pieces for me. But I think they wanted me to work up to that point. I was like, you're going to drop every time, it's still to this day, every time it's been a while, but when I drop off pieces anywhere, I'm like, they're going to look at it and be like, see, I knew you're not a real artist.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're gonna find that you're gonna that imposter syndrome still kind of peeks through. But now I'm I feel more confident. It's been 3 years now. I'm there.
For sure.
because they're a little, they're a little different than like Shockbox, for example, where it's more like they're open to experimentation at Shockbox.
Yes.
It's you can do whatever the hell you want, and everyone's so supportive. Whereas like, our space is a little different gallery where they have clients and they have certain collectors and they want this kind of thing. But I feel lucky that they let me kind of do whatever I want as well. There's no like, I need, 5 of these exact paintings. It doesn't happen for me.
Yeah.
So they allow me to like, also just kind of give them what I have. But so they
never push you towards like a series, like, oh, this series was really good, try some more of these.
Not since the very beginning. Not since the very beginning. Yeah, when I first started with them, they took one piece and they're like, can you make like 5 really big pieces similar to this?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the then. But now it's just like, now when they'll email me, be like, we don't, you only have like 2 small pieces left. Can you drop off some pieces? So, or like, or bigger ones. And I've also gotten a lot of commissions from them as well. Like people go into the gallery and they'll see my work and then they'll contact me.
Oh, that's cool. And
yeah, it's right off Beverly. So it's a good walking gallery. I mean, people walk by a lot. So there's that gallery. And then, I haven't been to Shockbox in a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Understandably.
Understandably. And I'm like, I was telling Mike, I'm like, I'm ready to get back in. There's a show coming up in December I forgot what it was called.
Well, there's Jack George's show, which is opening Saturday, and then Intergalactic 3 is coming in January. Yeah.
January, right. So the deadline is December. That's right. So I'm going to be in that. I'm finally going to put a piece in for that one.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back.
I'm back.
And I'm back. And, everything is in person now. So it's exciting. It was just
exciting.
Yeah. The pandemic really fucked. It just like, we're all trauma bonded now, we're all like, we just all went through it. And it's just really exciting that everyone's coming back in person now. I'm really excited about that.
At the beginning, I was like, oh, this is fine. Online, we're doing virtual stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm used to working in isolation. But dude, after a while, my back, like I'm still recovering 11 months later. And I'm like finally turning a corner. But it was like a manifestation of what was going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Inside of me.
Well, like we said, your body holds all in.
For sure. Yeah. And it put me literally on my ass. Like I couldn't work for a month and a half. And I'm glad that I'm finally turning the corner, but it's really nice to have things opening up again, seeing people again. Yeah. And I can't wait to see your piece in the Intergalactic too. That's
cool. I'm excited. And I'm just, I'm kind of like, my gosh, I'm going with the flow, like whatever is happening, I'm just open to it. Like I'm not putting any pressure on myself. And because of that, there's just the opportunities are coming. I'm ready for them.
Yes.
And I'm just kind of grabbing them by the horns, as they say. I was going to say by the balls, but I don't think that's it.
You could say that too. Whatever. Yeah. Grab them by the balls and by the horns. Get each side.
Right. All of them. We should grab anything. But it's really cool to like see it kind of come into fruition, like just being like in a good place mentally and everything else around you also. And like, because of that, like, we're talking about the kids being affected and they're in a great place, they're having my son. And now it's like, I feel so complete with my family. Like I love hanging out with them. And, the most skeptical one, my daughter, who didn't want to talk to the baby when I was first pregnant. Yeah. She's like obsessed with him. She's constantly like, she's like, let me hold him. I was like, can I hold my baby for a second, please? But she's like, she wants to be the one that holds him. And she's the one who's like, you're not rocking him, right. Or like, like, but,
that's nice. That's good.
Yeah. And so it's like, I feel really complete. Like he was like that little puzzle piece I didn't know I needed. Yeah. And he I don't want to put all that pressure on him, but he really he healed me. Being pregnant with him and him coming, like it really changed my whole thing. And just having him as following my intuition and having this newborn the way like it just feels right is also such a great lesson for me. And just going with the flow. Everything in my life is all about now going with the flow. Yes. And I'm no longer like inconvenient things happen. It's no longer a thing. I'm like, meh. Like what else? Like there's nothing that I'm
once
just
you've
so
dealt
grateful
with what you've dealt with.
Yeah, like it's I'm good. Like it'll pass. Like it's just even if I'm in a feeling, I know it's gonna pass. And before it was like, this is how I'm gonna feel for the rest of my life. And and now I know it's not. And it's all because I was committed to like facing all of my shit. And I think that's that's the lesson of the day, is you have to face your shit.
Yeah. And then you can face anything. I love it too. And I think it'll be always a special place for you, like remembering this time, having your boy, because it's not only, having your first boy and you're, a child, but also you coming to terms with everything and growing and evolving. It's amazing.
We literally we're born at the same time. Like his birthday is like my birthday, and he was born on 10/10, which I love.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like it was like perfect, because I'm such an like numerology like I love numbers, and I constantly see like 10/10, 12/12, like all the time.
Part 3 with Sarah coming up, numerology.
Yeah. That's
so cool.
It's really cool. And it's been it's a long journey, but it's looking back, I can't believe it's only been like a year since I was like in a really, really bad place, really dark place. And it only took, but that year, so much has happened. And that just like proves like so much can happen the moment you decide you want it to happen. Like the moment you truly feel that you want it to change. Because it's not just thoughts, like, like they always like with the attraction, what's it called?
Oh, law of attraction.
Yeah. So law of attraction, they always say it's thoughts that change things, but it's not thoughts. It's literally your feeling.
It's feelings.
You have to feel it.
Yep.
And you can think positive thoughts all day long, but if you're not feeling those positive thoughts or feeling, compassion or to yourself or whatever it is, it's not going to come into fruition.
It's so true.
Yeah. And I know, so now, like, because I work so hard, I know it's not gonna be taken away from me, because I have the tools now to deal with. And it's like, like I said, it's not linear.
Yeah.
Like there's gonna be, of course, bad days and stuff, but I have a good support system. And I'm really excited.
I love to hear it. And I love to see you doing well and see you creating again. I'm happy that you're happy. I mean, you went through extreme tragedy and a lot of different trauma, and to see you come out on the other side is amazing. It's funny, you're talking about law of attraction. It's so true. If nothing else that you get from law of attraction, you don't have to believe in everything, but the one thing above all is just like how important it is to feel good, like to genuinely feel good. Like that's where everything comes from, because it just really kind of puts the spotlight on, this is your life. And what are you going to do? Being happy is the most important thing. And I know happiness.
And even if you make yourself feel happy for 5 minutes while you're meditating, just to pretend, like fake it till you make it.
Yeah, no, and it does make it.
It does make it. Like that's like the thing. Like I'm trying to teach my girls, like, about confidence, because right now, like, being this age is just, I hated being 12, 13, 14 years old. It was awful.
Oh my God.
And what my older sister taught me that. She's like, fake it till you make it. Just like fake the confidence, and you'll become confident. And that goes with everything else. Like just feeling like, if like I hate the positive, like the toxic positivity that spiritual groups have, but like to like make you just envision yourself in a happy place, even for 5 minutes, it will show you that it works. And then you can feel like shit the rest of the day, like, because it's really hard to be like, how am I supposed to be happy? I'm miserable. Like, what do you mean? But it's like, I mean, it takes work to get there, but like just to feel it for 5 minutes, and then next day will be like 10 minutes. And then, you can work up to feeling that way. And then eventually it becomes the real thing.
It becomes a pattern. Yeah. It's like muscle memory. And I think it's really important to underscore that we're not talking about being phony and like creating phony happiness and all that bullshit.
No, I hate that. Yeah.
I hate it too. But for me, like, I was just talking about this in an episode about just tricking your body, which is exactly what you're talking about. I will just kind of trick my body, whether that's through exercise or posture or standing up or whatever, just to kind of trick it into feeling better. And then I will just, I just find that even if it's like you're saying, you can go back to feeling like shit, but I hardly ever do. I'm at least more productive. Right. I get more stuff done, and my day ends up being better, which turns out to be my next day will be better. And my next morning, so it's a muscle like anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, tell people where they can find you. I know everybody pretty much knows you on here, but where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram. Sveta is my name. That's my handle.
Yes.
And my name. I'm also on,
that's convenient.
On art. Yeah, I'm on Artsy under Sarah Svetlana.
Mm-hmm.
And you can.
Could you spell on Instagram? I'll have it in the show notes too, but
it's SVETA, and then is my name, IS my name. So it's Sveta is like the short version for Svetlana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that came from. But Instagram is kind of like where is the best way to get a hold of me. You can email me at sarahslevies@gmail.com, but honestly, I'll probably never see it.
You can email me, but I won't respond.
I probably won't respond.
That's
Just
awesome.
being honest.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram, that's how we all communicate these days, it seems like.
I know.
But,
I hate it, but I love it. Like I use it strictly for work, and that's the way it's been really positive. Like, my kids are on it. I've forced them to be private, but when you're doing it for like personal stuff, I hate, it's just like everybody on it. It's just, there's so many cringies.
Yeah, there really are. And that's why I always try to keep it all business, business, creative stuff. No politics, no other BS.
No, like my whole feed, my new feed is all like cool art. And I don't see and that's I made my little bubble, and that's where I like it.
That's great. I love it. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on again. I'm hoping I can see you one of these days in person. Are you? Absolutely. So you said you might not be at Jack's show, right?
I might probably not, because Saturday but I'm definitely gonna be at the Intergalactic in January.
Cool. Awesome. So, well, I'll see you then.
So I mean, it feels like a million years away, but it's actually just like a month away. So
oh my God,
which is crazy.
Everything's flying by.
It really is. It really is.
Well, I'm gonna stop this, but stick around.
Okay.
Everybody check out Sarah's work. She's awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.